right, back on the Young Turks. Now, we got a lot of domestic stories, so I'm going to give you the international news fairly quickly today, and it's not good. It looks like the rebel forces are being driven back from some of the towns that they were attacking. The Gaddafi forces have held those towns. They still have the tanks within those towns, especially the Gaddafi strongholds, and they released mortar fire and tank fire on the rebels. The rebels scattered, and then they regrouped, and they attacked again, and they used some heavier armor going in this time, and they still got beaten back. And Gaddafi's forces wound up holding those towns for now, and it looks like the rebels are in some degree of retreat. Obviously not good news. Look, part of the problem is that these guys are not well trained. So they run against even halfway decently trained army. They don't have a plan, and the other side does. And plus, they don't have tanks, and the other side still does. Since the tanks are inside the cities, obviously it's harder to bomb them. And look, I don't think we should be bombing the tanks inside the cities. I think it's a dangerous, dangerous game. You start then at that point perhaps killing civilians, and then this thing becomes a lot more messy and convoluted. So if we can find other ways to help the rebels, great, but I'd be very careful about so-called precision strikes within a city. So, and the other thing is that the rebels got to wisen up. Look, there's ways to lay siege to a city. It's been done for thousands of years. If they have a tank inside the city, there's a way that you can waste that tank's ammunition and fuel if you surround the city and they cannot resupply it. Supply lines, I said, I mean, look, I'm not the military guy to draw up the plan for them, but there's a way to do this, but right now they run into a bit of a brick wall, and let's hope they can figure that out. Okay, and as far as Syria is concerned, we haven't given you an update on that in a little while. Further disaster continues there. Now the latest reports say that 150 people have been killed over the last 11 days. We've been telling you about the unrest in Dara, and that is a town where the protesters have been gathering in the mosque and the square. The Syrian government officials fired on them anyway. They didn't care that they were in or near a mosque. Of course, Syrians say, government officials firing into that crowd? Oh, no. It must have been just some random thugs that were there that happened to do our bidding exactly as we wanted. But no, us commit the violence. Of course not. You know, of course, Syria led by the dictator Bashar al-Assad, who they say is a much nicer guy than his dad, Hafez al-Assad. Hafez al-Assad was accused, and rightfully so, of killing anywhere between 10 to 40,000 people in the city of Hama. They had been in a rebellion against his government, and he rolled in the tanks and killed not just the rebels, but a lot of the civilians in that city, obviously, and sent a message. That was back in 1982. Now, his son is, supposed to be more Western, more open to other ideas, but he hasn't opened up Syria to anything except, of course, private business. Are you shocked? And it turns out his cousin is one of the guys that makes the most amount of money in Syria now, thanks to that private business that Bashar al-Assad started, opening up the country to. Really? I didn't see that coming. That's really, really surprising. So people are now, of course, complaining about that because that's corruption, etc. So Bashar al-Assad is saying, okay. Within the next couple of days, we will be releasing new reforms, and we might lift the emergency law that's been in place. Is it 20 years? 40 years? It's been in place for several decades. But finally, we might lift that emergency law. Oh, are you not merciful? Wow. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in the camp of let's go invade Syria. Calm down. Bring it down. Of course, Lieberman jumped in it. And he was like, oh my God, let's invade Syria right away. Dude, bring it down, man. That dude's got a hard-on for Middle Eastern invasions that like no one else's business. Okay, Joe, put down this Viagra and the Cialis. We're not going to invade Syria. And Hillary Clinton said the same. Just because we're helping the Libyan rebels does not mean that we have to do a whole different invasion of Syria. That's crazy talk. Okay, speaking of crazy talk, Some conservative commentators, including Joe Scarborough, said that look at the liberals and their hypocrisy on war. They were against the Iraq war, but they're for the military intervention in Libya. I rest my case. Okay, all right, I'm going to leave out the adjectives. But really, that's your conception. Your conception is that simplistic. Well, you were for against one war, but you were for another one. Doesn't that make you a hypocrite? No, it depends on the frickin' war. I wasn't against World War II. Okay, I wasn't around, but in hindsight, of course. But I wasn't even against the Persian Gulf War. I was for that war. I did pro-war rallies. Okay, now you guys who watch the show know this. The question is, does that particular war make sense? I know it's really hard to understand. God, it's so confusing. It's not black and white. Pro-war or anti-war, I can't figure it out. Look, here are some quick differences between the wars so that people can get educated. I don't mean you, I mean the guys who are making this criticism. First of all, there is a UN resolution in this case. That is one of the legal reasons that you can go to war. In the case of Iraq, we specifically could not get a UN resolution. The UN said, no, it's a bad idea, it's a dumb war, it is not sanctioned. So when we went into Iraq, it was illegal. There's basically three justifications for starting a war, and it meant none of them. In this case, we have a UN resolution. Second of all, this is not preemptive. This is not like, oh my God, Libya was going to attack us and there was going to be a mushroom cloud, so we hit them first. That's a terrible idea. They were already in the middle of civil strife, massacres, depending on how you want to characterize it, and the United Nations decided, hey, you know what? We have to stop it. It's a humanitarian crisis that's happening right now. Not like in Saddam's case, oh, well, he bombed his citizens like, I don't know, decades ago when we were giving him the weapons. But anyway, let's invade him now. No. So there's a huge difference there. Second of all, the deterrence value. I thought attacking Saddam Hussein was stupid because if you attack people who attack you, like Al-Qaeda, that makes a lot of sense. That has deterrence value. If you attack people who don't attack you, like Saddam Hussein, well, that encourages people to attack you because they think they're going to attack me either way, so I might as well hit them first. So that's a bad idea. In Gaddafi's case, he's already hit his people, and the deterrence that you want to send out and the message you want to send out is, hey, if you're a dictator, be careful about how badly you go after your people. If you kill them bad enough, the whole world might step in, and hence that is a deterrent to a dictator to slaughter his own people. You see, that makes sense. I know these are complicated thoughts, and the conservative mind is usually a small place. It's hard to fit all those thoughts in there. But I just wanted to give you that sense. And finally, among, by the way, dozens of other differences between Iraq and Libya, there's a sense of scope. One was, or is right now, a no-fly zone, which is very easy to do. Now, it might take time and it costs money. I'm not underselling it, but at least it's more limited. In Iraq, our plan was to go, conquer the whole country, and then occupy the country, apparently for decades. And that plan wasn't even drawn up. The occupation plan wasn't drawn up as we started the invasion. You see, that's a different scope, and occupation is a whole different animal and much more dangerous and counterproductive. Do you understand that, conservatives? Okay. All right, now let's move on. And by the way, most liberals don't agree with me anyway. Most liberals are against the Libyan war. So I got Juan Cole on my side, and let me see. Jason Link is at Huffington Post pointed out one other guy who's on our side. Maybe Tom Matsey, who used to be with MoveOn.org. Yep, Tom Matsey. Hey, there's three of us. Okay, the rest of the liberals hate this war anyway, so I don't even know who he's criticizing. Okay, so now let's move on to battle. So, as we've explained to you before, Obama and the Democrats were world's worst negotiators. You know that. You know, originally they gave up $40 billion, cutting for heating assistance to the poor, community organizing, Pell Grants, et cetera, all that slashed from President Obama's 2011 proposed budget. They got 0% credit for it. And then they did two continuing resolutions, $4 billion and $6 billion. So they gave the Republicans another $10 billion. Of course, got zero credit for that. So all this time, the Republicans haven't moved an inch. Now they've proposed, as we told you yesterday, $20 billion in new cuts. Still, the Republicans haven't moved an inch. Now the new package is, hey, overall, $30 to $36 billion in cuts. I believe that includes the original $10 billion they already cut. So that expands it by another $6 billion, basically, from yesterday's news, right? So 30 to 36 billion in cuts they have offered. Now, what do you think the Republicans' counteroffer was? Of course, nothing. Their counteroffer was, we will give you absolutely nothing, and furthermore, we will now change the rules of the game. So, Jacob Lew, who's handling negotiations for the White House, goes and Democrats go in, they're very serious, and they're like, okay, all right, we got this, and we got this, and we got these proposals, and okay, here's our offer. What's your offer? They're like, he's like, yeah, no, here's our offer. They rip up the piece of paper, and then they say, we're going to start over. You know how Republicans love to start over if they don't like something. And this time around, we will not be negotiating based on the actual budget. We will be negotiating based on our proposals. The $61 billion in cuts we already passed through the House, and you have to justify every single non-cut. You have to so if you're going to not cut any of that, you have to justify it. And we start with the assumption that the $61 billion will be cut in its entirety. And even Lew threw up his hands and was like, oh my God. It turns out these guys are not negotiating in good faith. Say it with me. Of course they're not negotiating in good faith. How could they possibly think the Republicans were doing that after all this time? So if that weren't enough, they said, oh, by the way, forget the budget. Who cares about the budget? We also insist that Planned Parenthood must be defunded, as we did in the House, and that the EPA must be severely cut back so that our polluting friends can pollute more without any bothersome regulation. Those also must be included on top of the $61 billion in cuts that we have requested. And when Democrats come back and they say, well, look, this is really hard to do with just non-defense discretionary spending. Can we also open it up to broader cuts? For example, more efficiencies in Medicaid and Medicare. You should be happy about that. More cuts in Pell Grants, okay? All these things that you should be happy with. Nope. We refuse to do that. It has to be non-defense discretionary spending. Because they don't, as I've told you a million times, they don't care about balancing the budget. That isn't the priority here. The priority is cuts that help them politically. They think the cuts help them politically in two different ways. One is get rid of things like pollution regulations so that their donors can pollute more, like the EPA. Another thing is get rid of NPR so that there's not people don't get facts; they only get conservative propaganda. The third way that these cuts help them is they cost a lot of jobs, and so since they cost a lot of jobs, then in 2012 they'll turn around and say, "Look at Barack Obama; he created any jobs." Well, that's why you have to elect a Republican president. So that's the real political agenda here, and it's startlingly obvious, right? Now, meanwhile, Democrats internally, I read, are, getting together and wondering, like, should we start attacking them? Should we say politically that it's their fault for the shutdown? They're hopeless, man. They're hopeless. Of course you should do that. Of course you should do that. It's a political game. They're hammering you day in and day out. They have press conferences every day where they come out and they're going to some of them bitch Democrats. They won't cut. They're going to shut this government down. Can you believe it? They're the worst of the worst. And the Democrats are still like in a committee meeting. They're like, should we criticize them at all? Because if we do, then maybe they won't negotiate in good faith. They're already not negotiating in good faith. How can you be this much of a sucker? Now, look at Cantor, for example. Here's what he said. In the scope of our debt crisis, if Senator Reid and Senator Schumer force the government to partially shut down over these sensible spending cuts, Americans will hold them accountable. So, of course, it's all Reid and Schumer's fault. It's all the Democrats' fault for the government shutdown. Because, of course, the Republicans want to shut the government down, and then they want to blame the Democrats for the government shutdown. So finally, yesterday, they woke up to this, and Reid had some quotes where he said, this is an internal Republican battle. It's the Republicans versus the Tea Party, and they're the ones who can't agree, and la. That's an okay line of attack. I'm glad they're finally counterattacking after weeks and weeks and months of this, where they didn't attack the Republicans at all. The country's split on who would be blamed if there was a government shutdown. Are you effing kidding me? The Democrats have given and given and given because they're desperate to avoid a shutdown for reasons I don't even understand. I think a shutdown would help them tremendously politically. They'd say, look at how unreasonable these guys are, because that's the truth. But the Democrats are scared to death of it. Meanwhile, the Republicans, who polls show, by the way, there's two different sets of polls. When you ask them, hey, should the Republicans accept some smaller cuts, 77%, so that the government is not shut down, 77% of the country says yes, they should. Only 20% say, who cares? Don't budge an inch, let the government get shut down, right? So the Republicans would lose in that, right? But the Democrats are still scared to death, and the Republicans still don't care. They're like, nope, not going to do it. Look, part of the reason is because Republicans, the only way they can lose their seats in a lot of these safe districts, not all, but a lot of these safe districts, is not losing to a Democrat, but losing to a Tea Party candidate in their primaries. So that's why they're not moving, and that's part of their motivation, because that's their constituency. But you've got to at least point that out to the American people and say that's why these guys aren't moving, that's why they don't mind a government shutdown. And whose fault is it? Are you kidding me? It's obviously the fault of the guys who have not budged an inch. Look, it's a frustrating job we have, right? Because it's like we're rooting for the losers. I hate to be that harsh, but it's true. I mean, we're rooting for the Washington Generals. I mean, you're going to go to a Harlem Globetrotters Washington Generals game and root for the Generals? I got bad news for you. That ain't going to work out for you. So, now I'm not saying that the government's going to get shut down here, okay? That's what, now a lot of people in Washington are coming to that realization. They're like, oh my God, looks like the Republicans aren't really negotiating. You don't fucking say. How did I figure that out 6 weeks ago? And yet you just woke up to that yesterday. I saw an analyst saying, this morning I got a lot more discouraged. How many times do I have to yell, of course, in this show? Okay, anyway. So they're finally coming around to this. But I don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's definitely going to be a government shutdown. What I'm telling you is, if there is not a government shutdown, it's because the Democrats will have given a lot more. I mean, to give $36 billion on top of the $40 billion they already gave, $76 billion overall, I think is wholly unreasonable. But they would be incredibly lucky if that was the end of it. My guess is that they will crumble and crumble and crumble, and they'll get very close to that $61 billion number. Will it be all $61 billion? If it was, it would simply be the most embarrassing political thing I have ever seen in my lifetime. They can't. Even the Democrats can't be that weak and craven. If they are, if I still have 1 or 2% faith left in them, and it's not faith, it's, any degree of belief that they can ever do the right thing, they would be totally wiped off the board. But my guess is they'll go damn close to that $61 billion in cuts. They'll save Planned Parenthood. I'm just guessing here, and they'll cut the EPA. They won't eliminate it or anything like that, but they'll have some serious hurtful cuts to the EPA because business interests win on that. The Democrats secretly want that to happen anyway, right? So either the government gets shut down, or we have a resolution that is at least 90% in favor of Republicans. So, go get them, generals! All right, I got to take a break, but when I come back, Fox News' real agenda is exposed, and I don't want to overpromise. Let's come back and let's do that.
Welcome back to TYT. Anna and Cenk with you. Cenk, go ahead.
All right, two things. Yesterday on the program we talked about Rick Scott and how he's doing drug tests for welfare recipients and making them pay for it, and for all state employees, even though the Supreme Court says you can't do that. I found out another wrinkle to that, and we did it on MSNBC. If you missed it, you got to check it out. We put that one up on our YouTube channel. But I want to let you guys know, in case you didn't watch the show, it turns out Rick Scott owns a company that is in the business of drug testing.
Ugh.
That is unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. I've never seen a conflict of interest that bad in my life. What a crook this guy is. And he says, no, it's okay. I put it in a revocable trust. By the way, revocable means he could just take it back after he's governor. So it's nonsense to begin with. But you know who he gave the revocable trust to, Anna?
Who?
His wife.
Oh, unbearable. That's an amazing story.
No, Rick Scott's an unreal dude. We had Alan Grayson on to talk about it. It was great. Check that out on youtube.com/theyoungturks. And then one other quick question for you guys. So if you're already going to flush the toilet for other reasons, and you have to blow your nose, is it better to throw the tissue in the toilet or in the garbage can? Discuss.
Difficult question. I would say the garbage can.
It seems like, you shouldn't put things that don't belong in the toilet, but on the other hand, you're already going to flush it, and then if you don't flush it, it's like waste extra garbage in the garbage. I don't know. I've always kind of been torn by that issue.
I think the only time, and this is just my take on it, some people might disagree, but my take is the tissue that you use to wipe your butt after you go number 2, that should be flushed in any and all cases, okay? Any and all cases, because you put that in the wastebasket and it'll smell all day long. It's just disgusting. Okay, but when it comes to like snot and anything else, just use the wastebasket. Don't flush it down the toilet. That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it.
Okay. Hey, you know what I love is that Anna presented the first point as if it was controversial. Yeah, of course you flush that down the toilet. Everybody knows that.
No, everybody does not know that. Okay, there are a lot of people who don't know that. I have been in the bathroom many a times where you see disgusting toilet paper like that.
No. A lot of Americans are right now totally confused by what Anna's talking about. Let me guess. It's because she comes from an immigrant background, right? And I can tell you from my personal experience. In Turkey, they wouldn't do that. They would put the toilet paper in the wastebasket instead of flushing it down. Why? Because they had terrible toilet systems, plumbing, and so the toilet paper would clog up the toilets. And so that's why they had to do that back in the old days, right? But if you don't have to do that, and some people never get out of that habit once they learn that habit, right?
It's disgusting.
But if you don't have to do that, by all means, for the love of God and everything else, put it in the toilet. That's where it belongs.
That was such a random discussion, Cenk. Where did that even come from? Did you just blow your nose and flush it down the toilet and get grief for it?
No, of course not.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. The next story actually is controversial. So there's a couple in France who is facing an investigation because their 11-month-old baby died of pneumonia. Now, doctors say that the pneumonia was caused by vitamin deficiencies. The baby lacked vitamin A and B12. And the reason why the couple is being investigated now is because they decided to become vegans, and investigators think, or officials think, that since they became vegans, the breast milk, the mother's breast milk, did not have the proper nutrients to keep the baby healthy. Now, I have to note that the 11-month-old was only fed breast milk and nothing else, okay? This investigation makes sense, okay, because they're concerned that there was neglect involved, and they're concerned that the baby wasn't getting the proper nutrients. But if you really read into the story, they should really be investigated for something else. So it turns out that the couple did not follow the doctor's orders when they took the 9-month-old in for a checkup. The doctor noticed that the baby was underweight and was suffering bronchitis. So he basically told the couple, look, you should bring the baby into the hospital, we should figure out what's wrong with her, and, we can fix the problem. Well, the couple didn't believe in that, okay? The couple actually does not trust hospitals, they don't trust doctors, so they decided to cure the baby themselves using, holistic methods. So what they did is they treated their baby with cabbage poultices. I don't even know what that is, it doesn't sound safe. Mustard and camphor, and washed her with earth and clay instead of giving her regular baths. They thought that would they thought that would really help with her bronchitis and somehow help her gain the weight back.
All right, look, if the investigation was launched because they're vegan and they had no idea the kid had any health problems, I think that's outrageous. Breast milk for an 11-month-old in its that's the only thing you feed her, that's fine. And I wouldn't start an investigation just on those counts. But if it turns out these clowns of the earth believe that you can cure bronchitis by rubbing cabbage on a kid or mustard and etc., I don't know what they do with the mustard. I don't want to know what they do with the mustard. Okay, then obviously they have a pattern and a history of clownish behavior, and in this case, it cost their baby's life, and hence the investigation is perfectly justified.
Yeah, I agree. The investigation is justified, and look, if you have a 9-month-old child, baby, that's suffering from bronchitis and is underweight, listen to what the doctors are telling you, okay? Magic clay isn't going to do anything to save the baby. I understand people who are a little skeptical of doctors or a little skeptical of some of the prescriptions they might prescribe or some of the methods they might use to, make people better. But it's a 9-month-old baby, okay? You can't go around reading these books and deciding to be the doctor for the child. That's what they did. They would read different types of books and, they would basically diagnose the child themselves and treat the child with whatever the book said that they should do. That's crazy. Leave it up to the professionals. It's a baby. It's a baby, and you are not a doctor. They had an organic food business, okay? Owning an organic food business does not qualify you as someone that can treat a sick child.
All right, first of all, we have the quote of the day. It's a baby. It's a baby. Okay, second of all, look, I have a 9-month-old, exactly. And if he had bronchitis, I would be in a panic. And if somebody came to me and said, no, let me just rub some cabbage and mustard all over him, I cannot explain to you the degree to which the beating I would give that person. Okay? I said, get out of the way. Get. I got to get this kid to a hospital. You could take that cabbage and put it somewhere else. The idea that I'd be like, I have this ideology about organic foods, and if I just encase him in clay and rub cabbage on his head, he'll be fine. I'll be like, oh my God. I can't describe to you how much those people would have to step back if it was my kid. And for them to do that to their own kid, it's just crazy.
I mean, yeah, I'm glad that you would have them step back from your kid and you would take him to a real doctor, because if you don't take him to a real doctor, he would...
And they die.
That's what happens, and that's what happened to the 11-month-old. Okay, unacceptable.
I wouldn't play that sound effect in a serious story like that. And I was wondering where you were going with that, because I see you like... I was like, uh-oh. All right, anyway, bring it down.
Calm down. All right, let's move on to the next story. Okay, so researchers are looking at MRI scans to see whether or not physical pain and emotional pain triggers the same responses in our brains. And they were surprised to find that, yes, it does. So they look at MRI scans, and they had 21 women and 19 men as respondents. And what they did is, first, they made them feel a little bit of physical pain by putting like a heating pad on their arms, and it made them feel the same pain that you would feel if you held a cup of coffee without a sleeve, right? And then they looked at the brain scan, and they saw that it triggered a change in blood flow in the brain. And then after that, they had these people look at photos and basically remember someone that they really loved that they recently broke up with. And then they looked at the MRI scans and they saw that it triggers the exact same reaction. Pretty fascinating stuff.
So it triggers the same reaction of pain when you remember breakups as it does when you feel actual physical pain.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not at all surprised by that. I think it probably triggers even worse pain receptors. Luckily, I didn't have that disastrous of breakups in my life, but I know other guys and girls that have gone through it, and it seems like they've been shot. I mean, they're like, whoa! They're like, Cenk, she left me, what am I going to do? I'm like, all right, dude, I know. Your pain receptors are through the roof. Just please calm down for a second. So I'm not surprised by that study.
Right, and look, the thing that's interesting about this is the fact that, our emotions play a huge role in the physical pain that we do feel, okay? Our mind controls a lot of what we feel physically. Like, for instance, before the show started, we were talking about insomnia and, how a lot of people have a hard time sleeping because they basically freak themselves out while they're trying to sleep, right? It's their emotions getting to them. For instance, I'm having a hard time sleeping lately, and the reason why is because as I'm sleeping, I'm constantly worried about whether or not I'm going to get enough sleep. So all of my emotions and the stress and everything basically affects me physically. So I don't know, I love this story because it's going to help doctors find ways to treat the physical pain that people feel, basically by treating the emotional pain that they feel.
All right, now we are going to get to the second TMI moment in this segment alone. Okay, where I tell you about once how I was crying during a breakup.
Okay, go ahead.
A disaster on the way. Now, it was a mutual breakup. Nobody, dumped anybody else. We were high school sweethearts, and we were going to go to two different colleges. I dropped her off at her college, and then I got in the car and I drove back. And as I was driving back, I was rather emotional, 18-year-old gentleman, and I started to cry. And I remember it was such a deep cry that I started to do the.
You were hyperventilating?
Which is as deeply embarrassing as it gets, so that's why I shouldn't share that information. Part of the reason I tell you that is because I don't want you to think, look, oh, I'm a tough guy, oh, I never had any tough breakups or anything. Part of the reason is because it's funny. And my friend Bora, who lives in Turkey, says whenever he's depressed or down, he remembers me crying like that because I told him the story. And he's like, it always cheers him up.
That is really fun. I'm surprised that you told that story. So you were 18 years old, and that was your reaction to. Yeah. Was it a girl that you were severely in love with? Like, what made this girl special?
You know what I love sometimes is Anna's adjectives. A girl that I was severely in love with.
Right.
No, yeah, of course we were in love. We were kids, etc. And it was like. We thought it was logical that that we not date anymore. We of course wound up getting back together, breaking up, getting back together like 8 more times. But it was like there was nothing acrimonious about it at all. But yeah, I felt very emotional towards her, obviously, and that's why. Look, dude, I'm an emotional guy, man. When I break up with girls, I almost always cry. Whether and it's usually, I don't mean to sound this in a dickish way, but it's usually a mutual decision or I initiated it or something, and I still feel very emotional about it because we spent some time together. Girl you went out with for a year, 2 years, 4 years, whatever it might be. So, and I'm not afraid to express those emotions, okay, Anna?
Yeah, this conversation went from being interesting to being a little unbearable. Like, oh, I felt so close to her, and I spent some time with her, and it was a part of my life that I'll never forget. Like, you're such a cream puff, Cenk. It's so funny because you always come off as like this tough guy on the show. A guy that has a little bit of a temper, kind of a badass, and then once in a while your cream puff side shows, and it's amusing.
So I don't know what you're talking about. I am very, very tough, Anna. Okay? I can use my emotions as a tool or as a weapon.
Oh, God. I gotta find where the Davidson quotes are. All right, I'll do that soon. But let's get to the best stories of the day. So a member of USC's Kappa Sigma fraternity is in hot water for getting caught having sex on top of one of the buildings on campus. Okay, so we have pictures of them. If you're squeamish about sex, close your eyes. It's hilarious. So there he is, hitting it doggy style. And apparently somebody saw and took a bunch of these pictures and posted them online. The photos went viral. And they identified the guy as one of the fraternity brothers from Kappa Sigma, and he has now been banned from the fraternity. And, there's really not much more to this story except for the fact that, come on, dude, if you want to have sex on top of a building, try to do it somewhere in the middle of the roof. Like, don't do it right there on the edge where everyone can see you, except maybe they did this because they wanted to be seen. Who knows?
Oh, of course. I have many things to say about this story. First of all, one of the articles identified the photographer as a pervy wanker. That he was taking pictures of them having sex. No, are you kidding me? You see people having sex on a rooftop, and you got a camera with you. That's funny. I don't think that's pervy at all to take that picture. I think it's amusing, right? Second of all, the kid has been suspended from his fraternity. Let him go! Let him go. What are you talking about? The guy's an American hero.
Isn't this what
Who wouldn't wanna
fraternities
have
do,
sex
though?
with-
Isn't this what they're known for? They're known for
Of
partying and
course!
having sex.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? When he first came back to the frat house and nobody knew about the pictures, and he told all his friends, and trust me, ladies, he told all his friends. They were giving him high fives. They were loving it. They thought it was the greatest story ever. When the photos first came out, this is all my speculation, but I guarantee you it's 100% true. When the photos first came out, he got more high fives. They're like, dude, you were caught. That's so funny. You're busted, but hey, way to go. Oh, yeah, her. She was hot. Whatever, right? But when it became an embarrassment, all of a sudden they have to send out the guy in the tie, to represent the fraternity, council of fraternities, and to be like, all right, this is a disgrace, and, we agree with the university that this is outrageous and unbecoming of a fraternity, and meanwhile, all the guys in the background are like, and to come out and say that they have suspended him. No, let him go, man. You know what you were actually thinking. Keep it real. Now, if you're the girl, look, I know it's a double standard. I know it. But that double standard exists in society. That's a little bit more embarrassing. And, and look, I'm sure the guy's embarrassed by it too, don't get me wrong, except in one of the pictures they have this long black out of him. And he's got to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
The girl seems to be reasonably attractive. I think he's winning probably, but I feel terrible for her. So, I wouldn't have put the pictures out there because it's their private life, and that's terrible. But
no, it's not their private lives.
But come on, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, it's not their private lives at all. They're having sex on top of a building on campus. You have a reasonable expectation to have people take pictures of you. But I do feel bad for the girl because she just made a disastrous decision. That's the worst decision you can make. Girl, if you want to have sex, I'm all for it, right? Don't have sex on top of a building because you might think it's fun and you might think it's funny. But you're right, Cenk. For a guy, everyone's going to give him the high fives. Everyone's going to say, oh yeah, when he was in college, he was banging a girl on top of a building. It was great. But for a woman, it's going to be like, aren't you the girl who got pictured, or photographed having sex, doggy style, on top of a building on campus? Yeah, I don't know if I want to give you this job. That's how it is for women, okay? We've done countless stories on that. It is tough. So she made a disastrous decision. Don't do it, guys, or women. Don't do it.
Now, look, the thing is, I'm sure she thought, hey, we're being naughty, and oh my God, somebody might see, etc. Except, turns out somebody might see, and somebody might take pictures. I know they don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy. I'm just saying, I wouldn't have, if I was in their position, I would expect that somebody would take pictures. Mm-hmm. But if I was in the photographer's position, I certainly wouldn't have taken the pictures, and I certainly wouldn't have published them. Because, come on, man, you're messing with her life. Look, it's too much. There's a picture where her ankles are, showing. That's tough, man. That's tough. Don't do that to her. So I wouldn't have done it. But I'm just keeping it real on how people are reacting at school because I'm sure of that. Right.
All right, we have another university-related story, and it has to do with the University of Chicago. They created a hookup website known as uchicagohookups.com, and they received a lot of attention because what this website would essentially do is create opportunities for students to have casual sex. So students go onto the website, they meet one another, they plan a wham bam thank you ma'am, and they go do their thing, right? And of course the media went ballistic when they saw this story. So they covered it, and you know what happened? The website grew. In fact, it grew so much that they have now expanded it to eduhookups.com, and basically it includes more colleges and universities where students can get together, plan casual sex, and make it happen.
Okay. I love the media going crazy about this story. You mean to tell me that college kids on campus are having sex with one another? Come on, you really outraged by that? Like, you didn't see that coming? Of course! That's like 68% of the point of going to college. So, this is the most logical website in the history of mankind. Of course they expanded. Of course people are interested in it. And, they have a bunch of quotes from guys who are interested in it, which is another, of course. I'm a little more surprised that they are getting a lot more females, participating in the website. I wish back when I was in college that, it was that easy. You just go, hey, I'd like a hookup. And some girl's like, yeah, me too. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I think that that's one aspect of society where you are seeing a little more equality, right? Women are being a lot more open about what they want. They're being a lot more open about their sexuality, and I think that's a good thing. Now, here's the thing. Here's where the media went wrong. They went wrong in publicizing this website, and here's why. There's so many pervy wanker people out there that probably saw that story and they're like, I'm going to go on there and find a way to hook up with someone. And, questionable people that you definitely would not want, to know about this website. And, they say, look, you need an edu domain, or not domain, edu email account in order to register on this site and find people to hook up with. But look, if people are smart enough, they'll find a way to get around that. And they'll find a way to, target these people or target these women. So I think that's the only downfall of it.
Look. There's two problems here, okay, in what people are concerned about. One is they're saying, like, oh, you shouldn't encourage kids to hook up. It's crazy. They're college kids. They're way over 18 in almost all the cases, etc. Obviously, if they're under 18, that's a whole different issue. But they're not. They're in college. Second of all, like, oh, my God, perverts will find these women, okay? Look, I got news for you. Perverts are searching for women no matter where they are, okay? And they're going to try to find them anyway. You can't shut down whole websites that has good, honest Americans hooking up because some perverts will try to find younger women when they're actually older.
No, but this situation is different, Cenk. It's one thing for perverts to go on the internet and look for women on Facebook or some other social networking site. But this is a site that is specifically created for casual sex. So it's like concentrating, horny, 18 to 22-year-olds, and pervy wankers know exactly where to go and exactly where to find these women. I think that is definitely a downfall. I don't want you to dismiss that.
No. Here's what I'm doing.
I don't agree.
I'm dismissing it. Okay? Dismissing it. Okay? You're concerned. I'm saying to it, yeah. Look, okay, you know what? Colleges are where there's a lot of 18 to 22-year-old girls who a lot of them are interested in hooking up. We shouldn't have colleges. They're just a magnet for perverts who will go there, or older guys who are going to try to get those girls.
Okay, Cenk, come on. Don't act like you don't know about the anonymity of the internet and the website, okay? A pervy wanker can easily go on this website, pretend like they're this hot, 22-year-old guy that's chiseled or whatever, use whatever picture he wants, lure these women in, and then when they meet, it turns out to be like an 86-year-old pervy wanker who wants to molest the girl. Like, there are a lot more opportunities. There are a lot more opportunities. Yes, there are. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm against putting the website down. I'm not, I'm just saying this is the one downside of it. I'm not against the website. I don't want to shut it down, so don't get me wrong. But you can't dismiss what the potential downfall is. That's my take on it.
I have not disagreed with you more on a subject in a long time, okay? Yeah, when the 86-year-old dude shows up, rough talk him and run him off, okay? It doesn't mean like, she showed up. I thought he was a hot 20-year-old. Turns out he's 86. All right, let's do it anyway. No, you're in person. You don't have to do that. Now, if you say to me, hey, don't send naked pictures to that guy because he's not a hot 20-year-old. He's actually a creepy 58-year-old accountant in Ohio. Okay, I agree. Don't send him naked pictures, okay? Because we see that story happen all the time. But look, and they have to have an EDU address. So that means that mainly the older perverts who are going to hit on them are their professors, who were going to hit on them anyway.
Yeah, I think that you just proved yourself wrong by creating yet another scenario where someone could send a naked picture to one of these pervy wankers, and then he can basically put it all over the internet and do whatever he wants. Look, there are downfalls. We disagree on that. You think that this is A-okay and there's absolutely nothing wrong, nothing that could potentially go wrong with this website. I think that you're wrong, but that's my take.
I love how Anna pulled a conservative talking point trick there where she's like, I guess you think there's nothing that could ever go wrong with this website, but that's your belief, so let's just leave it right there.
I'm learning. Wow, we took a long time with that story. Okay, one more story for you guys. So it turns out that the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, also known as ICANN, approved the creation of the domain XXX. Okay, so let's say you want to create a porn website. I don't know. What's popular porn these days? Foot fetishes. Okay, so it could be footfetishes.xxx. Now, this is a disastrous idea because now governments, international governments, can easily find these porn sites and shut them down. For instance, in India, pornography is illegal, so they've already done a preemptive strike on XXX websites. If something ends in XXX, they're banning it.
Yeah, there's no way the porn companies are going to be happy about this. They like to hide and not realize that pervywanker.com is actually a porn site. Which, by the way, I don't even know if it is. But somebody just took that name as we were speaking.
Right,
If
exactly.
it wasn't before, it is within the next 24 hours. But pervywanker.xxx is a lot clearer. And so, obviously, the porn sites have a huge financial incentive in hiding between the .coms rather than being out in the open on the .xxx. If they were not banned, if governments were not going to take action against them, then I wouldn't have any problem with it because it's truth in labeling. And I don't think there's anything wrong with adults looking at porn on the web. But if parents wanted to block their kids, etc., it would be helpful. I get that, but that's not how it's going to work in the real world. In the real world, governments all over the world are going to look to immediately ban the .xxx's. I don't think that's the right way to go, and so that's why I'm against it.
Right, and just to be clear, if you are a porn site and or you want to create a porn site, you don't necessarily have to register under that domain. At this point, people who want to create a porn website can also opt for the .com. So at this point, you have that decision. But do not go for the XXX because it immediately identifies you as a porn site, and places like India will ban you right off the bat. So. That's it. That's that for this hour.
By the way, I just checked pervywanker.com, and it appears to not be taken.
Oh, it's not taken?
Well, it's this company called RCN, whatever. So it's not a real website. Like, it might be taken by somebody. I'm not sure, but it's not a real website. So I don't know. GoDaddy.com/ what do we do? TYT1, TYT3. Use one of our promo codes. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying.
All right, guys. That does it for our hour today. If you're a member, stick around. We have a post-game show for you. And for everyone else, watch Cenk tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC.